It has been a year of ups and downs, not just here in Korea, but around the globe, particularly in the political arena. Looking back on 2024, earlier I had a chance to talk to correspondents for Voice of America, Mainichi newspaper, and Le Monde. Take a look. Chris, let me first start with you. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump must be busy leading up to his inauguration in a few weeks. What's grabbing the headlines these days there ahead of the leadership change?
And it was this battle over whether the U.S. would pass a funding bill to keep the government running. And there was some drama with that because of Donald Trump's involvement in scuttling an earlier agreement and also Elon Musk's involvement. But lawmakers decided to pass legislation which provides government funding at current levels through March 14th. But many observers think that this is a preview of what it's going to be like with a narrow Republican majority in Congress, in the House.
And Koichi, the change of leadership in Japan has made the headlines in 2024. What would Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba be focusing on at this moment, some 2 months after taking office?
Yes. Well, shortly after his administration began in last October, we had a general elections. And while the ruling coalition maintained its status as the largest bloc, it fell into a minority position. So frankly, there is little room for Ishiba to tackle any significant new policies. His primary focus right now is to pass the budget for the next fiscal year by March. If the budget is passed, his administration will likely continue at least until next upper house election in July next year.
And Philip, for the first time in over 6 decades, the French National Assembly has approved a no-confidence motion against the incumbent government, forcing out Prime Minister Michel Barnier. President Emmanuel Macron is now under pressure to step down. How's the situation there?
As you said, Michel Barnier had to step down. And now there is a new prime minister, which is François Bayrou, and he's struggling to find people to form his own cabinet. But at the same time, Macron is not really threatened. He's basically waiting for the next summer, because at this time he would be able to call for another snap election. And I think that he's waiting for.
Now let's turn to the recent political uncertainty unfolding here in Korea. South Korea, after the National Assembly impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol recently over his controversial martial law declaration. The case is now being contested at the Constitutional Court for a final decision. Chris, the U.S. has underscored Washington's alliance with Seoul amid a de facto leadership vacuum here in Korea. How does the U.S. media forecast the relationship between the two allies under a second Trump presidency?
Well, they're expecting a marked change from the Biden administration, which favored a multilateral approach to dealing with North Korea. And analysts say Trump might bypass South Korea entirely, as seen during his first term. And this is according to Daniel Snyder, who is a lecturer in East Asian Studies at Stanford University. And he highlighted the challenges for South Korea if U.S.-North Korea summit diplomacy resumes. And
Koichi, how does the Japanese media forecast bilateral cooperation down the road?
Well, actually, recent improvements in Japan-South Korea relations have been largely due to President Yoon's decision, but still, meanwhile, international dynamics are shifting, and including Russia's invasion of Ukraine and strengthening cooperation between North Korea and Russia, as well as ongoing U.S.-China rivalry. I think given both nations' economic challenges, it seems Japan and South Korea have little choice but to cooperate.
Philip, Le Monde has recently highlighted rallies in Korea supporting the impeachment of President Yoon. What's been its focus? What were the takeaways?
I think that they've been impressed because the rally have been organized just the day after the martial law, And the weekend after, it was huge. There were huge rallies, and there were lots of young people, and there were lots of young ladies, more than young boys. It was really amazing. So we have been surprised, but I think it was a good thing to see and a good surprise. And we followed that and covered that with lots of enthusiasm.
All right, a deputy editor at Mainichi newspaper, Koichi Yonemura, Le Monde correspondent Philip Mesmer, and VOA correspondent Chris Katskeho. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having me.